In order to first discuss this topic, I feel I should first discuss my inspiration behind it. I'm legally blind. I don't use a cane, and I don't have a service dog, but even though I can pass for being able bodied at a first glance, I still have limits that I've lived with my whole life. That's why, when I first saw Toph fighting in Avatar The Last Airbender, I was mesmerized by her abilities. She couldn't see, but through her training and learning, she had figured out her own limits and, more importantly, how to work around them. Toph is fully blind for anyone who isn't in the know about the most badass 12-year-old this side of cartoon China, and that never changes in the story. Throughout the show, we see the limits on what she can do in life and what she needs help with, just like how everyone else has weaknesses and limitations. But when it comes to earthbending, her passion, she's mastered her own way of seeing that lets her not only fight on even ground with others, but evolve in her own way to surpass them. Toph is not an underdog. We're introduced to her as someone who's already accepted her limitations and strived to work around them in the name of following her dream. But the actual subjects of this video, when we're first introduced to them, are pinnacle underdogs. Izuku Midoriya, the eager hero in training from My Hero Academia, and Asta, the shrimpy Magic Knight rookie from Black Clover. The worlds they live in, the lives they've led, and the dreams they hold are all remarkably similar, but key differences exist in the narratives surrounding them. While these discrepancies may seem like minor gaps compared to all the similarities, these gaps hide major fissures in the deeper themes, all of which have brought me to this conclusion. Black Clover, right from the get-go, succeeds with flying colors where My Hero Academia near instantly crashes and burns. Got your attention? Then strap in because we're diving in head first. To talk about their differences, let me first lay out their similarities. MHA and Black Clover both take place in worlds where quote-unquote superpowers are commonplace. MHA has their own unique brand of comic book style superpowers called quirks, while Black Clover has its own system of magic. Pretty much everyone in these two worlds has some form of power except our protagonists. Midoriya is one of the 20% of the population to have no quirk, though it doesn't really feel like it. Is there anyone else confirmed quirkless in the story beyond him, All Might, and Melissa from that one movie? Is there really no one else in his middle school like that? 1 in 5 odds. Yeah, I'm rambling. Meanwhile, over in the Clover Kingdom, Asta is quite literally bereft of any magic at all. Sure, others in his peasant town and villages like it have so little that they might as well have none, but Asta's the only one we know of who has a literal 0 in that category. Despite this, both of them want to be the Thing. What is the Thing? It's whatever the story's about. Pirate King, Wizard King, Hokage, number 1 hero, whatever you want to call it, these are the end goals for a protagonist. Midoriya wants not only to be a pro hero, but the number 1 best ranked hero, and Asta's aiming to be the Wizard King, the highest ranked Magic Knight. We first meet these two young Thing wanters when they're at the end of their rope. Midoriya's just been told by his idol, All Might, that he has no chance of being a hero without a quirk, and Asta fails to receive a grimoire, a special book that literally everyone else gets when they're 15, meaning his dreams of being Magic Knight are completely out the window. It's only after they jump into action to save their rival that an opportunity presents itself, a way to gain some power and begin chasing their respective dreams. In terms of how the worlds of these two stories work, Asta and Midoriya can be called disabled. They were born different, lacking something that all others have, since quirks and magic are both about as commonplace as any other bodily function in their worlds. Many aspects of life are built around them, and those without face harsh setbacks. They're ostracized by their peers, they're pitied by the adults in their life, and most importantly, their dreams are, as things stand, impossible to achieve. That's where the powers come in. Midoriya is given One for All, a super strength quirk handed down from All Might himself, and Asta is chosen by a devil-possessed 5-leaf grimoire containing a sword with anti-magic. With these, they're finally able to chase their dreams. With all these similarities, you may be wondering where the differences come in. Well, they're coming at you right now, let's go!
違うんだお母さん。あの時 僕が言ってほしかったのは言ってほしかった言葉は
君はヒーローになれる。
I'll start with MHA, since I so brazenly suggested this beloved series has become a burning garbage heap with a lack of thematic consistency so massive that even Bakugo's ego is blushing. Did I say that? Maybe not, but I felt it. Did you feel it? I felt it. Oh, right, disability. Anyway, Midoriya's and Asta's journeys are off to a very similar start, but the first of these, we'll call them thematic hiccups, to put it nicely, happens right off the bat. Think back to Midoriya asking All Might if he's fit to be a hero, even if he's quirkless. All Might says no, his reason being that, without a quirk, fighting superpowered villains would be too dangerous. The series, to its credit, consistently presents the idea that heroes have to be quick to arrive, quick to finish a fight, competent, professional, all stuff that's tough to do with no quirk in this line of work. He tells him that it's okay to have a dream, but he should be realistic, and even gives him an alternative of being a police officer. He's not trying to crush Midoriya's dreams, he's just telling him what he believes is realistic. And even if you think he's coming across as a tiny bit dickish here, you gotta cut him some slack. Just like Midoriya, we're being introduced to All Might near the end of his rope, so to speak. That aside, he gives him the answer he truly believes, only to change his mind after seeing Midoriya trying to save Bakugo from the sludge villain's plot of... What was this guy's plan again? Like, I get taking over Bakugo's body, but what then? Are the heroes just gonna let him walk away after that? What's the next move for this dude? Anyway, he saves Butt Munch here from some form of sludgy doom, and inspires All Might to change his answer. You can be a hero, he says. Except, he doesn't mean it. Well, he does, but his answer hasn't actually changed. Go back to the original question. Can someone without a quirk become a hero like you? All Might's answer? No. At the end of the chapter, All Might says to him, you can be a hero. But he's not saying what you think he is. He isn't saying, yes, a person like you can become a hero like me without a quirk. The start of chapter 2 shows us what he actually means. You, and only you, among all others like you, can be a hero because I'm giving you a quirk. Midoriya, our disabled protagonist whose every woe in life is tied to his disability, gets cured. The narrative has just told us that Midoriya was unworthy as long as he was disabled. And that's not to say he wouldn't have failed if he had tried with no quirk. His performance in the actual test was going to net him a 0 until he busted out One for All and pulled off a rescue points ex machina. The point I'm trying to make is that All Might's answer never changed. Midoriya couldn't have become a hero if he hadn't been given One for All, thereby curing him of the biological setback that separated him from his dream. And from there, the story's just been giving him gift after gift and talent after talent. Oh, he struggles with One for All, that's clear, and it lasts for a good while. But once he develops full cowling, and especially after he gets shoot style, he's moved well beyond his peers and even begun outpacing the trained professionals with not even a full year of schooling under his belt. I won't get into manga spoilers, though what I'm thinking of won't be manga spoilers once Season 5 is underway, but take my word for it, the story has long since stopped being about an underdog. Any weaknesses he started out with are long gone. Midoriya starts the story by saying, not all men are created equal. Well, he's right. Midoriya was created with a disadvantage, and the universe said, you are the only one who will escape this inequality. And before I move on to Black Clover, let me take a moment to defend this point. Some of you, rightfully so, may turn your thoughts to MHA's much better spin-off, Illegals, My Hero Academia Vigilantes, specifically to the character Knuckle Duster, who's a vigilante hero with no quirk. Especially if you're hearing about this character now, you may be wondering, how does his existence not completely disprove my argument? Well, here's the thing, Knuckle Duster is not an official hero. As a vigilante, he's outside the system, pursuing his own goals and generally doing whatever the hell he wants. Often brutalizing villains, he runs across beyond what's apparently allowed for regular heroes. He trains himself to the physical limit and outfits himself with tools to keep up with quirk-wielding villains, like most pros, but will also resort to trickery, like in his fight with Stendhal, or will go into battles with special preparations, such as his fight with Number 6. More than that, though, we learn of his past as a professional hero and how his quirk was stolen from him, and the implication is that the loss forced his immediate retirement, even if he still was in great shape and possessed a sharp mind. Even if this doesn't convince you and you still think Knuckle Duster is a glaring counter to my argument, remember that he's still only a spin-off character. Vigilantes is not written by Horiksohi, and Knuckle Duster has never been directly mentioned in the main series. Even if you personally count him as a quirkless hero, he isn't part of the main narrative. Speaking of the main narrative, if you want more proof, look no further than Ragdoll. Even if it wasn't a quirk used for combat, once her quirk was stolen by All For One, she retires effective immediately and becomes an office lady for her team. Couple all this evidence with Chapter 1 saying that the UA Hero courses have never had a quirkless student, and what do you get? A series that's abandoned its core ideal. Because guess what? It still doesn't have a quirkless student. And with no example in the story so far, and Midoriya passing up that role, we'll likely never see one. And this isn't something I necessarily blame Horikoshi for. Some blame does lie in him, but it's mostly its editors and Jump itself. They're the ones who changed their minds at the last second and said to give Midoriya power. Look at the prototype one-shots and concept art. Hell, look at the first chapter again. Horikoshi had One For All shoehorned into his story by others, and I can sympathize with that. But he's still the writer. He didn't need to go all in on erasing any sort of quirkless presence in the story, but that's the story we've got. One where the question of can anyone be a hero has been answered with no. Who's to say there's not more people like Chapter 1 Midoriya out there in the world of MHA? What could Midoriya say to them? He can't say you can also be a hero even without a quirk, because the story has proven to us that you cannot. Now, on to greener pastures. You may be asking, how is Black Clover any different? Asta receives a 1 in a million power at the start too. Well, here's where I see the differences. It's true that Asta's power is a singular thing like One For All. Anti-magic isn't something that others can use. That's a fair point, but there's also numbers to consider. Midoriya is, apparently, one of 20% of the population with no quirk. Asta is quite literally the only person in the world with no magic. Where other peasants are like insects to royals, he's an amoeba. Anti-magic isn't something that could work with anyone else. Compounding that point is Asta's training. Ever since he was a kid, he's been training physically, which is very unusual for other people in the Clover Kingdom. This means that even if there were other fully magicless people, he'd still most likely be the only one capable of handling this power, since he can wield the heavy swords. Asta's power is given to him because of his two strengths, having enough willpower to not give up, which summoned the Grimoire, and having enough physical strength to wield the swords. Meanwhile, Midoriya's power was given to him because All Might saw in him the potential to be a great hero because he did something heroic. Something I'm sure none of his classmates would have done in the same situation, I guess. And it's true that Midoriya did do his own preparation, like Asta's strength training, what with making the notes for years in his notebooks, but those don't benefit him for long after the first few arcs. Hell, by shoot style, he's moved past strategy altogether and into just brute forcing his problems, but I digress. Asta's powers don't put him on the same power system as everyone else, but onto a brand new one with its own strengths and weaknesses. The anti-magic swords in this context are comparable to any aid device like glasses, a wheelchair, medication for mental disabilities. They don't cure him, but they help him function in this world he's putting himself into, the world of Magic Knights. The biggest difference I'm seeing between these two is that Midoriya is cured of his disability, while Asta, through his own tenacity and outside aid, is given a route to his dream without being cured. His disability is around to this day, giving him new challenges and roadblocks. That's where a lot of great Asta moments come from, in my opinion. The way he helps himself or receives help from others in moving past these limits in ways that other people don't have to, showing everyone that even a magicless peasant can be Wizard King. Learning Ki from Yami to make up for his inability to sense mana like everyone else. reawakening his Black Asta transformation to keep up with everyone at the Yultun volcano since he can't use Mana Skin, and most recently, being unable to fly on a broomstick, learning to fly on his sword like a fucking hoverboard. You look me in the eye and tell me that's not the raddest shit in the world. And even as Asta gains these tricks in order to keep up, he still must rely on others as there's certain barriers he still can't cross. Flying was a big one until the time skip, making him reliant on Magna and others. Attacking at a range was a no-go as well until the tournament arc, which led to his team strategies with Fenrir and Vanessa. Midoriya, by contrast, has seen a distinct lack of involving his friends since the start. You have instances like the USJ arc or the Stain fight, sure, but against later foes like Muscular, Gentle, and Overhaul, the story much prefers he go solo. Yes, I said Overhaul, no, Eri doesn't count. Eri was not a partner in that fight, she was a backpack. But even if we count Backpack Chan as a fellow combatant, you can peek the manga to see teamwork being put on the back burner for him, even during specifically team-based battles. God, I hate the joint training arc. Stay tuned for Season 5, where the story completes its long descent into mediocrity by simultaneously jumping the shark, ruining any credibility it has as an ensemble show, and shoving its supposed themes through a wood chipper. But that's a rant for another day, and trust me, I will rant. I'll probably make a whole video about Midoriya specifically in this regard. Call it something punchy like Midoriya, the fall of a protagonist, or Midoriya, a failed protagonist. That'll go over well. It even comes through in both shows' first openings, for crying out loud. Take a look at some of these lyrics from the full cut of Haruka Mirai, a song about Asta beginning his journey towards becoming Wizard King and stepping into the world of magic knights despite his disability. Though my smile is fake, this soul will never change. It's alright to have weakness. Better today than yesterday, better tomorrow than today. I wanna like myself more. That's quite the uplifting message to send, and it connects deeply with the series' main themes. It actually reminds me in particular of one of the most famous lines in the series. Being weak is nothing to be ashamed of. Staying weak is. It's alright if you're born different and lacking something that everyone else has, but that's no reason to give up on finding your own way of doing things. Now, how about these lyrics from the full cut of The Day, the first MHA opening, and a song written about the start of Midoriya's journey, where he sheds his disability in order to chase his dream. Real survivors, with undying effort, stab each other in the back. Those who survive are the winners, and fairness is but an illusion. Jeez, stabbing each other in the back, fairness being an illusion? Sounds like UA's motto. Did I mention yet that I also dislike the sports festival? Man, I can feel your opinion of me dropping by the second. Still, when even the opening theme songs are supporting my point, maybe there's something to all this. That second line, those who survive are the winners, and so on, is probably meant to recall someone like Bakugo, and the lack of fairness, as it's an illusion, is for Midoriya. But they're both winners now, and they have been for a long while in the story. So, is fairness real now in the story? That's a big fat no. Not even close. So, where did this all come from? How did two series so similar in style and substance step into separate storytelling solar systems? Alliteration's hard. But to answer my stupidly worded question, we've got to get back to the past, and check out how a certain ninja changed the game.
この力に手を染めちまったら最後俺自身どうなるかすらわからねえでもしょうがねえよなナルト確かにお前は特別だっただがな俺はお前以上に特別だ
Yes, like most of life's problems, Naruto is to blame. Being the cross-cultural phenomenon it was, many newer shonen have taken great inspiration from it, with MHA and Black Clover being the clearest examples in my eyes. You can go back to my comparisons between the two, toss Naruto in there, and you'll see it can fit snugly into many parts of it. You can also see where I'm going with this. Naruto, like MHA, is a series that asks you to do as I say, not as I do. Or, more accurately, be inspired by the message I'm planned with, not the message that actually comes through in what happens. Naruto is a series about how someone with no talent, who isn't born with special powers or even a family, can keep up with those holding natural gifts through nothing but hard work and determination. That's all well and good, until you look at its track record. Naruto has the nine-tailed fox sealed inside of him that, while unable to be controlled until much later in the series, gifts him with near-endless chakra reserves. Be it brute forcing his way into the use of his signature shadow clones, brute forcing his way to a win against Haku, brute forcing his way to a win against Kiba, Neji, Gaara, you get it. Naruto does lack talent, as he says, but he's got the specialness that the story talks about in spades. And by part 2, he's got more special powers than you can shake a stick at. He's a reincarnation of some kind of moon god kin or something dumb like that. Huge chakra potential inherited from his clan and the aforementioned moon god. Special training from people who only take notice of him because of his fox powers or his family history filled with Hokages or other reasons he doesn't earn. What does Shino do? He's got, like, bugs, right? What does Kiba do? Dog? Ninja? What about Lee? Oh yeah, he's the one with nothing. Rock Lee is unable to do ninjutsu or genjutsu. All he can do outside of his special taijutsu is basics like running up trees or Jesusing across water. But still, he trains to prove to his rival Neji and everyone who doubts him that a talentless guy with no special innate powers can be great. Sounds in line with the themes, right? What does he get for this? 2 broken limbs and banishment from doing anything important ever up to the very end. How's Naruto doing by the very end? Physical godhood? That's pretty great considering he's not special at all. Even Might Guy, the Lee of the previous generation, gets a similar treatment right at the end. He's gone through all the same shit as Lee until he receives the opportunity to throw down with Madara, another god, with the story telling us that only he, thanks to the way he's had to train due to being disabled, is the only one able to exploit Madara's weakness. He gets to fight, go all out, even be praised by Madara and show off mind-boggling feats, only to lose and need Special Boy Naruto to both save his life and to show off his new god skills by not only blowing Guy out of the water, but even Madara himself. In the end, what is an underdog? Someone who defies the odds to come out on top. Midoriya, Asta, and even Naruto are presented as having the odds stacked against them right at the start, but as I hope I've proven to you, those odds changed very quickly for 2 of these characters. A well-done disability narrative, in my eyes, can make you believe the hype, to show that everyone deserves respect, accommodation, and a shot at fulfilling their dreams. When a story's attempt at accommodation is to cure the disabled protagonist right away, then you've missed the boat already, and no amount of breaky bones or even more gifted rivals can change that. Oh, that reminds me, maybe I'll make another video like this comparing Bakugo and Yuno with Sasuke as the backdrop. Oh, I will have some choice words for Bakugo, don't you worry. But that's a topic for another day. For now, I'm going to leave you with these thoughts. What did you think? Am I totally off base, or have I opened your eyes a bit? Let me know in the comments. And just to be clear, if you take exception to what I've said about Naruto or MHA, just know that I can't stop you from enjoying them. There's plenty to love, so go. Be free. Go enjoy your stupid show. Yeah, it's a good closer. That'll go over well.
What you've just watched was our first foray into scripted content. Mike got to take a crack at it first, but I've also got some stuff on the way. Unfortunately, because of the amount of work that goes into making these, we can't release them very often at our current level, so they'll only be coming out every few months. As I get better at editing, and as we grow as a channel, we'll be able to put these out more often, so that's not too bad. It was a ton of fun to put this together, and from both Mike's end and mine, I can't wait to share my next video with you all. This first video was written by Mike with a little bit of input from myself for the Naruto parts, and I edited it. Make sure to follow us on all these social media platforms so that you can find out when new videos come out, such as more scripted content like this or our traditional podcast episodes. See you around.